Well, hello there, and welcome back to Promises Kept. This is the Bible study where we're looking at the promises of God over 5 months. We're looking at 150, and today we're on Promise Kept 83. And today we have a distracting hairstyle. It's the morning hairdo. This is how I have to sleep with it. So you're getting the real deal here today, the real Marla. And you're also getting a real deal promise in Isaiah 55. It's verse 7, but verse 7 kind of comes in halfway between a thought. So I'm going to go to verse 6 and we'll read that, and then we'll get into the promise in verse 7. So Isaiah 55:6 says, "Seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near." And then verse 7 says, "Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, that he may have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon." And that is the promise. He will abundantly pardon, the promise of God. So going back to verse 6, it says, "Seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near." It's interesting to me because the Lord is not yet in the flesh, in person, in Isaiah's day, 700 years before Jesus, and yet Isaiah is saying, "Seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near." Maybe in Isaiah's day, the Lord is having Isaiah say this because the people of the southern kingdom of Judah hasn't been kicked out of the promised land yet. So maybe in that context, he's saying, "Seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near," because they are going to be kicked out of the promised land and into captivity. And maybe that's the encouragement. But to me, it's kind of interesting because obviously it's Jesus that is going to be near, and it's Jesus actually in Matthew chapter 9, I think it's 14 through 17, says something like, you don't have to fast now because the bridegroom is with you, and eventually you're going to mourn and fast because he goes away. It reminds me of that. Seek the Lord while he is near, call upon him. Seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he's near. It gives that idea that, that the Lord is going away. And in Isaiah's time, the Lord didn't go away. The Lord God was in heaven. I guess you can kind of say he was dwelling in the temple, and that eventually he would go away from the temple. We see that in Ezekiel. But more than that, it really just reminds me of a foreshadow of Jesus. So Jesus saying that he's going to go away. So, seek him while he may be found. And that's really good advice. Seek him while he may be found. Call upon him while he's near. That's really good advice because there's going to be a time where Jesus comes back in the second coming, and he's going to be near, but you don't want to wait till that time to call upon him. That's a time that's going to be pretty awful. So that's during the tribulation. So anyway, now let's get to our promise verse that says, "Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, that he might have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon." So this just speaks to every sinner. It's, when you see the wicked, you think, "Ooh, the really, really bad people." No, it's everybody. It's everybody who has sinned. And this is just the truth of the gospel. Let the wicked, or everyone, every evil person, everyone who's sinned, forsake his way, turn away from his way of following his way and following the devil's way. Let him forsake that and say, "I'm going to forsake. I'm going to forsake you. I'm leaving you. I'm leaving myself and my own way. I'm leaving the ways of the wicked one, the ways of the devil, and the unrighteous man in his thoughts." So this is important because you can see that there's two types of wickedness, two types of sin. You're sinning in deed and you're sinning in thought. The promise verse addresses both of them. So it's really good to know that. You might say to yourself, "Well, I'm a good person. I don't do anything bad. I'm not wicked." Well, what about your thought life? That's a really important thing to think about. No pun intended. the angry thoughts, the lustful thoughts, the jealous thoughts, the discontent thoughts, the unfaithful thoughts. Those are all wicked, unrighteous thoughts. And it's saying unrighteous, not right with God. We've learned that word over our Bible study. So let the wicked forsake his way. So stop doing evil deeds. Stop following your way. Let the unrighteous, the one who's not right with God, that's somebody who's still living in sin, somebody who still has their sin on them, their sin record on them, they're not right with God. You can't be right. One lie and you are unrighteous. Let the unrighteous man and the unrighteous man his thoughts. So forsake your thoughts. Stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about sin, ways you could sin, even though you're not going to sin. That's all things you have to forsake. And let him return to the Lord. Go back to God. Return to. That kind of implies that you were once with God. But were you ever really with God? I don't know. The Bible would say that, like a baby, they're not conscious of what they're doing, even though they're little sinners too. They cry because they're discontent and all that. They lie at a very young age. We all lie at a very young age. But the Bible would kind of say that the children, babies, innocent babies, they're not responsible for their sin action until they reach an age of consciousness of their, like, oh, I am lying, that happens. And not everybody, it happens at a certain time. But let's just say between 6 to 8, you're conscious of your actions. And so maybe that's what it's thinking when it's speaking about when it says, let him return to the Lord. Go back to that innocent time when you didn't know what you were doing, when you didn't realize you were sinning, when you didn't have those evil thoughts that were popping in your head. Go back to the time. Return to the Lord. Turn back to him. And another way to say that is repent. Turn back. Turn away from your ways. Do a 180-degree turn. Turn back to the Lord. Stop following yourself. Stop following the evil one, devil. Turn back and start following the Lord. And to our God, for he will abundantly, I'm skipped. And he may have compassion on you. So how beautiful is that? If you return back to him, he's going to have compassion on you. He's going to be merciful. He's going to say, okay, everybody on this planet is tempted by the devil. Jesus knows it. Jesus was tempted to be tempted by the devil, and it didn't work. So God has compassion on us down here, knowing it's really, really hard to not fall into the grip of the evil one. We're born into it. He has compassion on us that it's really not our fault. Because of what Adam and Eve did, we're just by nature sinners. Humankind are sinners. So the Lord has compassion on us when we admit it, when we turn to him and say, I don't want to follow that way anymore. I don't want to follow my flesh. I don't want to follow the evil ways of the devil. I don't want to follow my ways. I'm turning back to you. God will have compassion on you. In the story of the prodigal son, we see that God is represented by the father, and when the prodigal son comes back, the father hikes up his robes and runs towards the son. He runs towards him. He has compassion on him for the fact that he repented of his evil ways and his own ways and returned back to the Lord. And then finally, to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. He will abundantly pardon, not just pardon, but abundantly pardon, which makes you think about grace, right? Grace is not only not getting what you deserve, but getting what you don't deserve. You don't deserve heaven because you've sinned, but God is going to pardon you of your sin record, and he's going to lavishly, abundantly lay grace on you by giving you heaven. All because of Jesus. The only way that you get this abundant pardon is by believing in Jesus. And you need to recognize that your sin was not wiped away just to go into the abyss. Yes, it was wiped away from you, But your sin record was laid upon Jesus, and he paid the penalty. He took the horrific wrath of God on his body, including death, and with that, he paid the price for your sin. So you're pardoned, but Jesus wasn't pardoned. Jesus took the penalty for you. So your abundant pardon is all because of Jesus. And you should really, really consider, if you are unrighteous, if you are wicked, if you are just somebody who doesn't pay any attention to God, and you can say to yourself, but I have lied once, you should really consider allowing Jesus to take your sin, the penalty for your sin on his body, and you get the pardon. He's already done it for you. You don't have to allow him. He's already done it. All you have to do is accept it. The work is done. He did it for all of humanity, but only those who are repentant and decide to forsake their ways and turn back to the Lord, they are the only ones that get to partake in his promise of abundantly pardoning your sin record. So it's as simple as just getting on your knees and saying, Lord, will you forgive me? I've been unrighteous. I haven't followed you. I have this record of sin, even if it's very small. I have it, and I want it to be wiped clean. I accept what you did for me, Jesus. I accept the love that you displayed for me on the cross, and I turn away from myself and my own ways, and I ask for forgiveness, and I am going to follow you. I believe that you died for my sin and rose from the grave, and I believe that because you rose first and I'm in you now, I will rise too, and I will have abundant life in you in heaven. I believe, Jesus. And by faith, when you say that statement in prayer, in your head, however you say it, God will abundantly pardon you. It's a promise of God. Promise number 83. So take it and hold on to it. And even though Isaiah spoke this in the Old Testament 700 years before Jesus, it is as true can be. So turn back to him, and he will set you free of your sin record so you don't have to go to captivity in hell. Okay? And I'll see you. Have my hair done better next time. Bye.